It was Chadwick Boseman's performance in 42 that really made us take a second look. There's such an honor and dignity to the way that he played Jackie Robinson that we knew we needed for the character of T'Challa, the Prince of Wakanda.
Chadwick is an amazing actor and we thought would fit perfectly with the MCU.
Black Panther himself, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick, you know, he has a lot of depth. It was amazing as an audience member to look into his eyes and see what's going on.
We must find a way to look after one another as if we were one single tribe.
When completing a long climb, one first experiences dizziness, disorientation, and shortness of breath due to the high altitude. But once you become accustomed to the climb, your mind opens up to the tranquility of the triumph. Oftentimes, the mind is flooded with realizations that were for some reason harder to come to when you were at a lower elevation. At this moment, most of you need some realizations because right now you have some big decisions to make. How would I maneuver through all of this? Finally, I thought of Ali in the middle of the yard. In his elder years, drawing from his victories and his losses. At that moment, I realized something new about the greatness of Ali and how he carried his crown. I realized that he was transferring something to me on that day. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter in me. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter to me. He was transferring the spirit of the fighter to me. Sometimes you need to feel the pain and sting of defeat to activate the real passion and purpose that God predestined inside of you. God says in Jeremiah, I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Graduating class, hear me well on this day. When you have reached the hilltop and you are deciding on next jobs, next steps, career, further education, you would rather find purpose than a job or a career. Purpose crosses disciplines. Purpose is an essential element of you. It is the reason you are on the planet at this particular time in history. Your very existence is wrapped up in the things you are here to fulfill. Whatever you choose for a career path, remember the struggles along the way are only meant to shape you for your purpose. When I dare to challenge the system that would relegate us to victims and stereotypes with no clear historical backgrounds, no hopes or talents, when I questioned that method of portrayal, a different path opened up for me. The path to my destiny. When God has something for you, it doesn't matter who stands against it. God will move someone that's holding you back away from a door and put someone there who will open it for you. If it's meant for you, I don't know what your future is, but if you're willing to take the harder way, the more complicated one, the one with more failures at first than successes, the one that has ultimately proven to have more meaning, more victory, more glory, then you will not regret it. Now, this is your time. The light of new realization shines on you today. Howard's legacy is not wrapped up in the money that you will make, but the challenges that you choose to confront. As you commit to your past, press on with pride and press on with purpose. God bless you. I love you, Howard. Howard forever.
Hi, I'm Demetrius Carter, a proud alumnus of Southern University and the co-executive director of the Columbus HBCU Ambassadors Initiative. I'm happy to be with you all today, virtually in this case, at this HBCU homecoming celebration, bringing more awareness to the greatness of our historically Black colleges and universities. And now more than ever, it is imperative that we continue to do the work to ensure that there's a continuous pipeline of African Americans prepared to effectively function and lead in all social and economic sectors. And that begins with lifting and equipping our young people. Next, we'll have a panel discussion with HBCU alumni from within the Columbus space who have made and are making a meaningful impact in the community. And the goals for this session is for our panelists to have a really cool conversation around their experiences as an individual HBCU student, speak to the importance of attending HBCUs now more than ever, and bring awareness to how we can continue to provide a lift to our HBCUs and HBCU students moving forward. Now I'd like to hand this over to our very own Deputy Chief of Staff at the City of Columbus, Don Tyler Lee.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Demetrius, for that introduction. It is my honor to be with you today. We are dropping in the chat box who you are repping today. Put in there your high school, your college you hope to attend, the college you graduated from. Those of you might be from outside of Columbus, and we want to know that too. So a big welcome to all of our guests today, and a special welcome to those who might be joining us from outside of Columbus. It is my honor to introduce our panelists for today's conversation. I'm just going to give their name and their title. Their bios are so impressive, and they have earned everything that they have accomplished, but I know our time is going to run out, and I want to make sure you can hear from them as much as possible. So I'd like to start with Dr. Tanja Coverdale, the Assistant Vice President of Workforce and Legal Technology at Nationwide here in Columbus, and a proud graduate of Morgan State University. Good afternoon, Dr. Tanja. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Daryl Gray. He is a gastroenterologist at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center, proud graduate of Morehouse. Welcome, Dr. Daryl. And then I'd like to introduce Mo Wright, my longtime friend, who is president and founder of Rama Consulting and proud graduate of Winston-Salem University. I welcome all of you to the panel and look forward to a rich discussion. I think Demetrius may have mentioned it, and you could certainly see it on my shirt, but I'm a proud graduate of Hampton University. After seeing Miss Gillison this morning repping her school, I had to change my whole outfit so I could rep Hampton, and I'm proud to do so. One thing that I love about being part of the HBCU family and the HBCU community is that we have friendly rivalries, but those rivalries encourage us to be better and to do better. And that's what you get being part of an HBCU. But you have to be able to back up what you're talking with your accomplishments and the mark that you're hoping to leave on the community. So I'm repping the real HU, Hampton University, but all respect to Howard. And of course, that beautiful video with Chadwick Boseman, gone way too soon. The scripture that he talked about, I know the plans I have for you to prosper and not to harm and to give you a bright future. And I think that just beautifully sets up what this day is all about, to open doors for our young people to their bright future. because there's so much potential and possibility out there. And it's up to us as those who are coming before you to show you how to open those doors and how to walk through them in your purpose and in your passion. So thank you for that video. Want to thank all the organizers of today's conference. These things do not come together easily. Thank all the organizers. Thank all of our young people for taking time out of their Saturday to be here, whether you're here by choice or here because someone made you be here. We're glad you're here. Thank you to the parents, the guardians, the teachers, the counselors, everyone pouring into our young people to help show them what possibilities are for them. So with that, let me just move right into our questions. As Brother Demetrius said, we've got kind of 3 buckets that we want to cover today. And really the first one is about how HBCUs prepared our panelists to make the impact that they are making in their career and in their community. Some on this in this conference, this virtual conference today, might not be familiar with what HBCUs are and how they make an impact on their students. And so I'd really just like to open it up to the panelists just to talk a little bit about your HBCU experience and how it shaped your life and your career. And let's start with Dr. Coverdale.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for having me today. As you know, I'm a proud alumna 2 times over of Morgan State University, where I received both my bachelor's and my PhD, both in information technology. I am a career technologist and currently a technology executive. And so in terms of my HBCU experience and how it prepared me for today, it's less of the actual academic material that it prepared me for, because as you know, in technology, things change so quickly. What I learned when I was in school is totally irrelevant now. But what my professors prepared me for was this lifelong journey of excellence. They expected nothing less than me from the best. And they set me off to really embrace this quest of learning and knowledge so that I can always execute with excellence. In addition, it set me up for my career path because I had classmates who were just like me in so many different ways. And as you know, the field of technology, even to this day, is not very diverse. But I call on my network of technologists, although they may not work with me here in Ohio and in the many places I've been, I know that they exist. And I know that they exist because they sat in classrooms with me at Morgan State University in Baltimore. So with that, I carry all of our hopes and dreams as we continue to work to diversify the technology industry. And I would say that's what I took with me from my HBCU experience.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Coverdale. Before I go to Dr. Gray, I just want to ask you a quick follow-up. We have young people on our platform today who are trying to decide what college might be right for them. Why did you pick Morgan State?
I would say Morgan State chose me and I couldn't be any happier. I actually wanted to attend another institution that was not an HBCU. And I'm so glad you asked that question because I feel in my spirit that there's someone here who needs to hear this. I actually was the valedictorian of my high school back in Brooklyn, New York, which is where I'm originally from. And I didn't think that HBCUs were good enough for me. Just honestly putting it out there, because the narrative that's been given to our high excelling, achieving students is that you should take your talents elsewhere. And Morgan State University provided me with a full presidential scholarship, room, board, books, and tuition. And so for me, there was no other choice but to go on this journey. And I'm so glad that I did, because not only did I find, and I mentioned in my other answer, students like me. I don't necessarily mean African-American students. I meant students who were great, students who were just as smart as me, just as driven as I was, even more so. I found academic excellence that looked like me on my campus. And so I'm so glad I went to Morgan State.
You touched on something so important, and I think we'll get into it a little bit more, but there are some who think that HBCUs are inferior, and we have so many examples to prove otherwise. So many. I could name so many different folks, but the first that comes to mind is Vice President-elect Harris, Stacey Abrams, our new Attorney General, Chad Boseman, Dr. Coverdale, Mo Wright, Dr. Gray. I mean, we could go on and on. So anytime someone tells you that HBCUs are inferior, we could just do a little roll call and remind them that HBCUs are preparing all of us for excellence. So let's go to Dr. Gray. Dr. Gray, would you tell us a little bit about your HBCU experience and how it's prepared you for career and community, and why you picked Morehouse?
Oh, absolutely. So I'll start actually with the last part, the second question. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and getting close toward the end of my journey in high school, I went to Poly, or Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, a public school in Baltimore. We had different kind of recruiters that were coming into our school, and there was a African-American male who came in, I remember it distinctly, from Morehouse. Man, well suited, looked really sharp, came in, and one of the things that resonated was he was an athlete at his high school, and he was getting recruited to all different schools, but he said Morehouse wanted him for his mind more than they wanted him for his athletic talent. And that really resonated with me. I hadn't visited any other colleges. I thought, like many of my classmates, that I might go to UMBC. A lot of my classmates got the Meyerhoff Scholarship there. I thought that might be a path. But then I actually, visited Morehouse, and I saw brothers that looked like me, that were making serious moves. Brothers that were suited going to class on some days, others that were not. And so I said, man, this looks a lot different than where I was thinking about going. And so I applied to Morehouse, and that actually ended up, I don't encourage this, students, but that was the only school I applied to because I knew I really wanted to go there. And fortunately, I was extremely blessed, similar to Dr. Coverdale, in that I got a full scholarship to go to Morehouse. And when I was at Morehouse, one of the things that became very instilled in me is a lot of times we will enter spaces where we might be the only one. Particularly as Dr. Coverdale, Mr. Wright, and others will attest, in our fields, we're one of very few. As an academic gastroenterologist, those physicians who work in academia, particularly Black males, we're only 2%. Only 2% of physicians are Black males working in academia. And so we enter a lot of spaces where we are the only one. And our voice may be representing many people, there may be many people represented behind our own voice in that room. And one of the things that was instilled in me in Morehouse is, number one, I'm going to be in these spaces, but I'm there for a reason. Who am I not to be in these spaces? And so the whole concept of imposter syndrome really was removed from my lexicon and my mind as being a part of Morehouse, because I was amidst classmates from literally all over the world. Not only that, but I got to travel as a part of what I did at Morehouse. So I was in Ireland with some world leaders. And those kind of things, really stuck with me. So my experience was extremely rich. Not only that, being at Morehouse, I was away from home. So I had to mature very quickly. You're not with your parents. You can't just call up or drive home to pick up this, pick up that. So you mature, and you mature with those people you put around you. And fortunately, one thing that Morehouse did an excellent job of was set me up for success because of the friendships that I was able to make through classroom activities, through roommates, etc. Iron sharpens iron. And so the people that I surrounded with definitely sharpened me. And the brothers that I got to know, the sisters that I got to know, those are my closest friends to date in what I do now. I think about my circles that I'm in just regular chat groups with. Those guys are lawyers, engineers, physicians, leaders across our country. But that started at Morehouse. For those, and this will be my last comment, but for those who aren't familiar with Morehouse in Atlanta, it's part of what's called Atlanta University Center. So there's Morehouse. It was founded in 1867. There's Spelman, which is an all-female college, literally only a few steps from Morehouse. There's Clark Atlanta University, and previously there was Morris Brown, and hopefully Morris Brown will make a comeback. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. And before we go to Mo Wright, I just want to underscore something that Dr. Gray said, which was also shared by Kayla White. Kayla is one of our ambassadors who goes to Kentucky State. And I was looking through the profiles last night, and Kayla says that an HBCU is where the whole campus is for you, not just one building, one club, or one event. And I think that's really powerful insight, Kayla. The whole campus is for you. So now let's go to Mo Wright. Talk to us about your HBCU experience, Mr. Winston-Salem State, and how it prepared you for a career in community.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks, Yolanda and Demetrius, for putting this forum together. I think it's so important that we have a space to honor and talk about our institutions and all the things that they are, because I believe Dr. Coverdale said the narrative has been skewed in a lot of ways. And so I think we're here to rewrite that narrative. Mo Wright, originally from Sharpsburg, North Carolina. I mentioned that because when you think about my HBCU journey, I'm one of those students who didn't come from a college family. First in my family to go to college. Didn't have even examples in our small rural community, really. I could probably name on one hand the number of people I know that had gone to college, some of them unsuccessfully even. So for me, even though I feel like I was always smart, right? I'm not like the two doctors here. I was not the valedictorian of my high school. My mother had passed away early in my high school career. I, got through okay, did what I needed to do to get through, but probably graduated high school with probably like a 2.8. So a very average kind of student. Not because I couldn't do better, just because I wasn't, and my mind wasn't there. And I mentioned that because now I graduated college with a 3.8, which is very different, right? But I mentioned that because I know some of the students here are not going to be the straight A, super academic types. And I want you to know that college is for you. And in HBCU particularly, you can find your place and figure out what is that super interest that you have. What is the thing that gets you up in the morning, and how can you cultivate that to turn it into a career pathway or even just service that you want to provide to the community. So, for me, it was, getting to the campus of WSSU. I had visited a couple other colleges, got a lot in the mail, both from HBCUs and majority institutions. And then I visited the campus, and it was just a feeling. I can't really describe what the moment was, that it's like, this is home. And everybody knows I'm the world's biggest Ram. So I serve as vice president of our National Alumni Association currently. Really engaged with the institution in terms of leadership from the alumni perspective. But for me, there's a power in HBCUs, and it's the ability for me to take a little country boy from Eastern North Carolina, dust them off and teach them how to tie a tie and put a suit on, and give him experiences that will really shape the trajectory of your entire life. And so my children now have an expectation to be college graduates because of what WSSU did for me. And that really is a story, I think, of all of the institutions, right? Born out of times when we couldn't go to other institutions like we can now. Born out of desire for educators to say that there can be a similar pathway for African-American kids as they're going to be for every other student out there. And then building institutions that really had to endure as much racism and bigotry during the time, and still have been able to propel themselves to do amazing work, most of them for well over 100 years. That's a story, and that's the narrative here. And so our institutions, like Winston-Salem State, are schools of resilience. And I think that's what it taught me. So me now as an entrepreneur, everything I've learned about running a business, the foundation came at HBCUs. It was learning how to get up before a group and present myself, being a leader among leaders, learning how to go into a room and network and be able to connect and make connections and use those connections for the sake of furthering my own agenda, as well as that from a broader community perspective. That's what it did for me. It stirred up some gifts in me that I didn't even know that I had. And now that I'm able to give back, it gives me an opportunity to be able to inspire that same type of leadership and service that all of our institutions stand for. It gives me an opportunity to give that back. And so I'm excited for all of you even considering HBCUs. And I will tell you, there is one out there that is absolutely a fit for you and absolutely will be a great place for you to call home.
Thank you, Mo. And just for those listening who might not be familiar with your journey, how many years of entrepreneurship do you have under your belt?
So this is, I'm going into year 18 in business. For those who don't know, so I manage a couple of businesses, but primarily I'm in consulting. So I basically
I need to add
sell
Henry Warren and
expertise.
And, Rochelle in here, because they're doing closing remarks and they're not in here.
We need to have our support folks go on mute, please.
There you go.
Mo, if you can continue.
Sure. So my business is primary consulting. I own a firm where we look at specialize in public engagement. Strategic planning is a large area, and then learning and development. So we work a lot to develop leaders in a lot of ways. And so that's my primary business, and I'm involved with some hospitality ventures as well. But yeah, so 18 years for me, all that kind of got foundationally put together. I started my company with a student leader that served with me while at Winston-Salem State University. And so the RA in Rhema is actually my former business partner, who actually was my vice president when I was student body president at WSSU. So those connections don't have to stop graduation day. They turn over into business relationships and opportunities for you to succeed long after you leave the campus.
Thank you. And I want our young people really to get that in their spirit. 18 years of entrepreneurship that started right after he left Winston-Salem State. So something happened on that campus that told him he could go be an entrepreneur. And 18 years later, he's built a successful enterprise and is doing amazing work in our community. So while many of us might be on the path to go work for a company or a nonprofit or government, please know that entrepreneurship is there for you as well. And Mo touched on a couple things that remind me of what Rashawn Barksdale, who is another one of our ambassadors from Central State, said, and I want to bring his voice into this conversation. I'm the first out of my family to attend an HBCU. I have the pen to write my own story. Follow your path and no one else. I have the pen to write my own story. So young people, the pen is in your hand. You are the author. You can write whatever you want it to be. And we know that you'll be writing success and prosperity and service. So I want those words to really get in you if they're not already. Let me move to our next question. And really, I want to talk about some current events. There's so much happening right now, and I don't need to run through all of it because anyone who has been paying attention knows. But we want to talk a little bit about how attending HBCUs and current events and how we're being impacted by those current events. So if you think about the pandemic, we talk about the COVID pandemic, which is obviously a health-related pandemic. But we know as a result, people that look like us are also experiencing an economic pandemic because of job loss or layoffs or many different things that are happening. And of course, we also know that we're having a pandemic as it relates to justice and equity and equality through the killings that we continue to see of innocent Black men at the hands of law enforcement. So thinking a little bit about navigating these pandemics, let me start with Dr. Gray, and let's talk a little bit about the health piece. I know that you are very involved in the African American Male Wellness Walk initiative. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how some of the work of the Wellness Walk is supporting our community and how it ties back to HBCUs?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for that question. The latter part of what you said really resonated and will tie nicely into this because, you know, I remember a couple of years ago, I attended a Black Male Summit that was held in Akron. And one of the keynote speakers there was Sean King. And Sean King said something, and we tell our mentees about how to find meaning in their work or find the path they want to take. But he said something that was very succinct that I'll always remember. He said, do the thing that makes you come alive to impact the issue that breaks your heart. Do the thing that makes you come alive to impact the issue that breaks your heart. So as I think about my trajectory into what I'm doing now, it's been doing the thing that makes me come alive to impact the issue that breaks my heart, which is seeing our people die prematurely from diseases that they do not need to. We think about what's happening now with COVID-19 and African Americans, particularly people of color, communities of color have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, whether it be cases, hospitalizations, or deaths. We also think about the burden of things like heart disease and cancer and diabetes and kidney disease is disproportionately impacting our folks. And so when the opportunity presented itself, when I first moved here to Columbus in 2014, one of the first people I met was Mr. John Gregory, who is the founder of the National African American Male Wellness Agency. Now, what started in Columbus in 2004 as a wellness walk has now turned into this enterprise that's in 16 different markets, from Seattle to DC to Atlanta. And I'm excited to partner with them as their medical director to impact change. And part of what we're doing is trying to impact Black males' lives in particular. because we know that Black men die way too prematurely. And so whether it be work around physical health and nutrition and mental health and exercise, or whether it be work that they're partnering in around barbershop talks and trying to navigate through not only the economic piece of COVID-19 and the burden that's been disproportionate amongst our folks, but also talking about mental health amidst the pandemic, because people are isolated. People are a lot more isolated than they are now. So, being at Morehouse, I think prepared me for this. It goes back to one of the pieces that Mo mentioned, prepared me to talk to people. How do you talk to different people? So not only talking to folks in the community, but talking to policymakers, right? Talking to those who have position and or the money to help you make the change that you want to see. And so as I think about some of the work we've been able to partner with the African American Male Wellness Agency, I think back to May when we first started, after the first surge and we started to reopen businesses here in Columbus. One of the things I was hearing from folks was, well, Doc, I'm glad they're opening the business up, but I don't have the things that I need to protect me when I go back. I'm a grocery store worker. I'm a bus driver. I drive Uber. I'm an essential infrastructure worker, but I don't have the tools that I need to safely re-enter the workforce. And so one of the things we were able to partner with African American Male Wellness Agency, amongst other organizations such as OSU, such as our Columbus City Schools, was to be able to give out community care kits in communities where they were needed. And ultimately, we gave out about 46,000 masks, 18,000 hand sanitizers, 12,000 hand soaps, dental hygiene items in places where they were needed. But it started with kind of following, again, my personal mission, but also following the principles that were instilled in me at Morehouse, learning how to speak to people, how to make connections like Mo and Dr. Coverdale were talking about, and being able to do that for the benefit of our community. And I know there's some students out there who are saying, well, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a Mo. I want to be a Dr. Coverdale. And you can be. You just have to dream big from where you are. If I would have thought back to, over when I was in college, I graduated from Morehouse in 2003. And if I think back to then, would I have guessed that I would be here now? Probably. But it may have looked a little bit differently. But it's because I dreamt big back then. You all don't be limited by what you see right in front of you right now. Kind of going back to what Mo was saying, where he came from in rural North Carolina. Don't be limited by what you see or what you don't see around you. Dream big and push forward, move toward that vision. Keep that vision in front of your face. Your personal mission statement, your goals for the month, the year, 3 years, 5 years, keep that in front of your face and keep pushing towards it.
Powerful. Thank you, Dr. Gray. I had to drop that quote in the chat because it was so meaningful. Do the thing that makes you come alive, that impacts the issue that breaks your heart. That is very powerful. Dr. Coverdale, I understand that through Nationwide, you have been part of a powerful relationship with Central State. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely, I can. But the precursor to that is I started my career in corporate technology, working for some of the large names, companies that you may know, like IBM, HP, printers, and also Accenture. And I spent many years working at HBCUs thereafter because I was very, not necessarily discouraged, but encouraged by the fact that there was a lack of diversity in the technology fields in those large corporations that I had worked for, that I left being a corporate technologist and I went to get my PhD again at Morgan. And then I went to teach because I decided that if I couldn't find other technologists of color, and I was going to go across the country and teach at HBCUs and make technologists of color because they would see me and they would know I came from the same places they came from and they would know that they could too. So I've done that. Prior to my new role at Nationwide, I was the vice president for IT and chief information officer at Central State University. So I went from being a first generation college student from Brooklyn, going to Morgan, to being a professor, a director, and making it to being, one of the number 2s at an HBCU, serving on the president's cabinet. With that, I did a lot of work of trying to increase the pipeline, especially here in Central Ohio, and making sure that our corporations were aware that we had so many brilliant technologists of color down the street in Wilberforce that are frankly being overlooked because they didn't have the same level of visibility as some of the coastal universities. And then we have companies saying we can't find technologists of color. So I went to bridge that gap. I took it a step further and decided, I remember that because of my training at Morgan State 2 times over, that I am a technology professional. So I am going back to the industry because that's what I'm trained to do. Although I spent many years in academia, I am a true blue technologist. So I took a job at Nationwide. And one of the first things that I did when I got to Nationwide, and this is why I love Nationwide so much, is I said, if you want to make an impact, what we really need to do is not wish that we had more technologists of color. Let's invest in our very own HBCU and build a stronger pipeline of homegrown technologists of color. Let's invest in and establish a stronger program. So with that, I've established I'm an executive sponsor of a new program between Nationwide Technology and Central State, in which we have invested $100,000 into the university's computer science program over the next 4 years. With that, we are also bringing in 5 interns per year. So that will be a total of 20 interns, but these interns are selected with anticipatory offers. That means once you're selected for my program, you have a job at Nationwide when you are successful in your internship, and you're going to be successful because I'm personally going to make sure you are successful. Having come through that similar pipeline, being an actual HBCU professor, right? As much as I am a technologist, I am an actual HBCU professor, bringing that level of care to the corporate industry and making sure we, just like Mo said, we're taking these diamonds in the rough, shining them off and putting them forth, instead of looking and saying, we don't find anyone. You're all there. I'm talking to you right now. You don't know it yet, but we're coming for you because you are going to be the technologist of the future. So that is, Dawn, that is exactly what I'm doing. And I'm loving it. That is the thing that helps me change the world, because the lack of socioeconomic mobility breaks my heart. Coming from inner city Brooklyn and seeing people who never had opportunities because people overlook them breaks my heart. So I do that through providing technology access to lucrative careers that can not only change you, but your entire family and your entire community.
I love it. Thank you for that. And that's another thing I love about HBCU grads. If we see a need in the community, we go out and we meet it. If we see a gap, we fill it. If we see that more leaders need to be cultivated, we are part of that cultivation. So I'm not sure how many of you listening are our technologists of the future, but I know there were some workshops earlier today about networking and building relationships and making connections. I'm not telling you what to do, but if I were you, I would immediately try to connect with Dr. Coverdale and learn more about this program. So thank you for your leadership in that regard. Now I'm going to move to Mo, talking a little bit more about the piece of the pandemic around economics and leadership, and how we as community stewards and community leaders are responsible for our community. There's a program that some may be familiar with, but not all, called the African American Leadership Academy. And I know you play a lead role in that program. And we've modeled the HBCU ambassador program after the African American Leadership Academy. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of programs like AALA and how they are impacting our community in a positive way?
Absolutely. So, I think here's the thing about people of color. Many times we either underestimate our abilities, and we are looking for validation from other people. And so one of the joys I get both professionally and personally from my work we do with AALA, we call it, is that we get to see leaders, light bulbs go off about how dynamic and awesome they already are, and then how they can really leverage that skill set to do as well as they can do in their career, or maybe they want to just do things like this whole program, which is being led by 2 of our graduates of the Leadership Academy. Because they see an opportunity to bring their talents and the fruits of that talent to the community or to a particular issue. And so programs like this are critical. And for me, this started out as what I did at my HBCU. I was very involved in student government, starting with my freshman year, learned how to lead and get elected and go get involved in politics and the opportunities to change policy. And I want to go back, Dawn, to your initial question, which was, kind of how I leverage HBCU to some of the things we do now. And one example comes to mind. So 1997, my freshman year at Winston-Salem State University, we had a protest. We didn't like that the administration was barring us from having a former student, which for those who don't know, Minister Louis Farrakhan actually attended Winston-Salem State. He didn't graduate, but he attended there. And we wanted to invite him as a homecoming speaker. Didn't go over well with administration. Long story short, that ends up in a student protest. And when I say protest, it is the students walking out of class at a predetermined time. I think it was like 11:55 that day, stormed the chancellor's office, taking over the building and demanding some results. And so I remember at one point, everybody's like, shake the building. And literally the building, the chancellor's office was shaking. I mean, it is a memory I will never, ever forget. But what I really learned after that experience, so as student government leaders, we had to protest. Students were all behind it. But there always is going to be a meeting after the protest. And what I learned at that moment was somebody's got to get in the room and hammer out the details. And for me, that is what my career does today. When you think about the issues we're having in Columbus around police and community relations, I'm not the person necessarily out there at the State House protesting, but as Dawn knows, because she was the one who called me, I'm the guy in the room with the police chief and the community brokering solutions around that. When we decided this community needed to have a civilian review board to oversee the actions of police and have the citizens as an opportunity to investigate issues of police misconduct, I'm the guy in the room, right? Hammering out what that should look like along with our city leaders and community leaders, right? And there's so many other opportunities like that. Our mental health system, our workforce development system. What I do as a profession is the same thing I did back in 1997 after the big protest was over, is to get in the room and help people figure out how to solve complex problems and complex issues. And so it really, for me, has become a career, but it all started in my days back at WSSU. After that protest, learning that somebody's got to be the person who's in the room, the community level thinker, the person who brings people together. And so I'm proud that the work that started way back at WSSU now is even a career path for me, and I'm able to bridge the two. So I wanted to mention that, Dawn, because I think it's so important that we talk about how some of those experiences long ago in college still shape even what we do professionally today. And I think the same skill set has applied to both and really led to a whole lot of success for me.
Absolutely. We all have a role to play, and we may sit at different tables or be in different areas of problem solving and solutions, but we all need to be at these different places to be strategic about how we move our people forward. I knew this was going to happen, and I could sit and talk to you guys all day. This is such a rich conversation, and I hope our listeners and our students and our young people are benefiting as well. I want to close out with a final question before we reach our time, and I'm going to ask you just to respond in a minute or less. And the closing question is about how we can continue to lift our HBCUs as we climb. And I'd like to find out if you could share one piece of practical advice that you would give to a student who is getting ready to start or even thinking about their HBCU journey. And let's start with Mo.
Of course, right. First practical advice, whether you are already at HBCU or you're thinking about going to one, my advice would just be do it all. Go to campus, every game, every organization you can get involved in, every study abroad, internship program you can figure out. Do it all, because those are the opportunities that really will give you that extra push that you may or may not have. Secondly, what was your second question, Dawn? I went out.
That was it. Advice to someone getting ready to start their HBCU journey. And how we can continue to lift HBCUs as we climb. I know you've been a philanthropist, and you are very diligent and dedicated about giving back to your community, and how the responsibility doesn't just end after graduation.
Absolutely. Yeah, real quick, I'll just say, yeah, absolutely. Give back. To me, commitment without currency is counterfeit. And so you've got to make sure you are writing the checks back to our institutions, the only way they stay viable. So that's a big one for me. But the other thing is, even if you don't decide to go to an HBCU, you probably may have children one day, you can send them to an HBCU. And then think about HBCUs not as just places to be educated, but places to work. We need dynamic leaders who, regardless of where you go to school, go back and work, whether you're a professor, but they also have marketing and accounting and every other career path with IT on that campus. And so you can go and work in an HBCU and further the mission, even if you don't decide to matriculate at one. So those are some options I think you still always will have.
Thank you. Dr. Gray.
Piece of advice, you can't achieve what you don't see, what you don't envision yourself. You can't achieve what you haven't prepared for. So I recommend that everyone, piece of advice, pull out your book, whatever book, make a vision board in your room, tack something on the wall, piece of paper, scotch tape, whatever, but write down what your personal mission statement is, write down what your visions are, cut them out of magazines. If you want to be a world traveler, cut a picture out of Africa, of Ghana, where you want to visit, or Europe, wherever you want to go, the Netherlands. If you want to be a doctor, cut out a picture of a doctor, put it on your wall. You got to see it to achieve it. And so make your vision plain so that you can run with it. The other piece about how we can really give back to HBCUs, number one, HBCUs do not have the endowments that the Harvards, that the OSUs, that these other predominantly white institutions have. Give back monetarily, number one. But number two, make sure that you are also helping to harvest the talent, just like with this program that Demetrius and others have crafted. Make sure that you're doing what you can to harvest the talent. It may start with one individual, but seek others at every level, whether it be kids in grad school, in grade school, elementary school, or those who are in high school. Cultivate that talent and tell them about HBCUs and your experience.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. And before my closing remarks, I will give Dr. Coverdale the last word from the panel.
Thank you so much. The beautiful thing about HBCUs is that they are wonderfully diverse, just as we are. And we all know the same 15 names, but there are over 100 HBCUs. So my advice would be get to know the HBCUs. If you're looking for a program in aviation, there's Elizabeth City State University and Delaware State University. If you're looking for a program in engineering, there's Morgan State University, shameless plug, and there's North Carolina A&T. Pharmacy, anything you want to, technology, anything that you want to do beyond the core groups of English and math and biology, there are HBCUs that are doing phenomenal work. And so go to the HBCU that fits your passion and your drive. Don't just go because you heard someone's homecoming is great or you like the city. A lot of times people make that mistake, but you want to go. There is a HBCU home for you. I've worked at 4, so I know personally. And how can we lift HBCUs as we climb? I'm going to be a proponent, as always, for corporate partnerships, especially today. Corporations are looking for places to invest in diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. I really ask us to bring HBCUs to the table as our companies are looking for new places to invest and to partner. As Dr. Gray mentioned and Mo mentioned, we don't have the endowments. A lot of the HBCUs are really just day to day and just have enough money to operate and do all the wonderful work that they're doing. If we had millions of dollars in our back pocket, you saw what Mackenzie Scott, if you don't know who she is the former wife of the Amazon founder. She took her money and gave billions of dollars to HBCUs across the board. That $3 million, that's nothing to an Ohio State, means everything to Central State. It is the difference between them really giving somebody like me and like Dr. Gray scholarships or having someone like us not be able to attend college because we don't have the funding or the money and all that wasted potential that's out there. So I'll advocate for corporate partnerships.
Thank you. Please join me in virtually thanking all of our panelists for their wisdom, their insight, their contributions to our community. What a rich conversation. Let me just close with a few quick announcements that you will definitely want to hear. In addition to another thank you for our sponsors and to our program organizers who made this all possible, I want to also share some exciting information about an opportunity to support students going to college and also for students to access some resources. So Mayor Ginther, as some of you may know, has what we call an equity agenda. And as part of his his commitment to equity, yesterday we launched the We Rise Scholarship, which is part of our My Brother's Keeper program in the city's Department of Neighborhoods, led by Director Carla Williams-Scott. So if you are a young man of color going to college, applications will be available February 1st, and you can find those at mbkvillage.org, mbkvillage.org. Also, if you would like to support that scholarship fund, yesterday we also launched a new t-shirt from the store Homage that says "We Rise Together," and you can purchase that t-shirt on the Homage website, and a portion of the proceeds will go towards the We Rise Scholarship. So I wanted to make sure everyone knew about that. And I'm going to close by bringing in the voice of Yanni Irvin, who is one of our ambassadors from Norfolk State, who says, "I chose to attend my HBCU because when I took a tour, it immediately felt like family." And those of us in the HBCU family know what a special place it is to be. And it has been my honor to lead this conversation with our family. Thank you to everyone who joined today. Thank you to all the organizers and the sponsors. And we bid you farewell for this session, and stay tuned for more. Thank you.
Major, chemistry, and voice double minor from PG County, Maryland, by way of Haiti, and I will be singing "Lift Every Voice and Sing." Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. God of our wearies, God us thus far on the way. Thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in your path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
Thank you, Ms. Gillison. I am so excited about all the things that this day brings to our students and families. It is also a joy to showcase how attending an HBCU not only changed my life, but the lives of those who are sharing with us today. These experiences at HBCUs didn't just end with getting degrees, but also being involved in various organizations that also shaped who I am as an adult today. I owe much of this to my experiences at Mississippi Valley State University. I want to share two things that have also helped guide me. That is looking and listening. As superintendent, I say these three words a lot. I hear you. People want to be heard. And here's what I see. I see hope. It came that day that Joe Biden officially selected his running mate, a proud graduate of Howard University in Washington, D.C., an HBCU, Kamala Harris. She broke the glass ceiling for women of color in our country. Not only will Ms. Harris be the first woman to hold the office of Vice President of the United States, but she is also the first African American, first South Asian American, and the first daughter of immigrants to serve in the post. Kamala Harris is the first graduate of an HBCU to be our country's vice president. And she, like me, is a member of the first Black sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Another sign of hope, oddly enough, arrived on January 6th. And I'm not talking about the fanatical protesters who stormed the U.S. Capitol building, but the victory of Reverend Rafael Warnock, the first African-American senator to represent the state of Georgia. Reverend Warnock is a proud graduate of HBCU, Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, the same institution that the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. attended. Senator Warnock said Dr. King's spirit recruited him to Morehouse College. He wanted to attend college in a place that focused not only on information, but also inspiration. A place where the goal was making a difference in the world. And here's the difference that we've made today. We are still together despite this pandemic. But there are a few that I want to single out and personally thank for this virtual production. They are my brother's keeper, Get Creative, City of Grace Church, I Know I Can, the Divine Nine Greek lettered organizations as Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, and Iota Phi Theta Fraternity. The Columbus Education Association, Columbus City Schools Communication, Multimedia Services, and Engagement Teams, and the Columbus HBCU Student Ambassadors. They volunteered and to host our virtual sessions today. And finally, together, we successfully found a way to meet, learn, share, and support one another. Continue to learn, engage, and dream for the remainder of this celebration and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon. And for those of you that may not know, Dr. Dixon is the 21st Superintendent of Columbus City Schools, straight out of Mississippi Valley State University, which is also SWAC school, Southwestern Athletic Conference. Shameless plug, just like the Jaguars of Southern University. So thank you, Dr. Dixon. So what we want to talk about now is we have some other members of our leadership team who also want to thank you for coming to this year's event. Like this year, we have over 900 people registered. Isn't that awesome? It triples the number that registered last year. So let's take a moment to listen to what they have to say.
Third annual HBCU Homecoming community-wide event. Although we will be facilitating this event virtually this year, you will still have the opportunity to make connections, learn about the awesome power of HBCUs by attending a variety of workshops, and you will have the chance to hear from current HBCU students from over 20 colleges and universities from across the country. As an HBCU grad myself, I am absolutely thrilled that we had this opportunity today to bring the HBCU experience to our students and families here in CCS. This is a moment of pride for our community as we highlight the many benefits of the HBCU college experience. Some of those benefits include high levels of student-faculty interactions, greater academic gains, higher student retention, increased graduation rates, greater access to academic resources such as mentoring and study groups, which provide a more supportive and satisfactory college experience. I would also like to take a moment to recognize my fellow CCS colleagues. There are more than 150 CCS employees from various departments across the district who are also HBCU alums like myself, who are making valuable contributions in CCS each and every day. And we are so grateful for their commitment and support of this annual event. It's also an honor and a privilege to congratulate Donna James, who is the recipient of the 2020 Central Ohio HBCU Alumna of Distinction Award. It is our pleasure and honor to recognize Donna James for the countless contributions she has made in Columbus and surrounding communities. Please join me in congratulating her for her outstanding leadership and service.
Welcome to the 2021 HBCU Homecoming. My name is Dr. Dion Blue, CCS Chief Equity Officer. It is an honor to bring you greetings. First, I want to welcome you to this very important event. HBCUs have always and continue to provide equitable access to higher education. They have been a cornerstone for the education of African Americans for over 150 years. HBCUs provided a way to level the playing field for students of color at a time when higher education wasn't available to us at other colleges and universities. This is a great time to attend an HBCU. HBCU grads can be found in all fields of endeavor, and we serve with distinction. Finally, I would like to congratulate Ms. Donna James, Alumna of Distinction awardee. Congratulations on your hard work. Welcome, everyone, and enjoy the program.
Well, welcome to you families and students. I bring you greetings from Columbus Afrocentric Early College. My name is Todd Walker, and I serve as director of our pre-K through 12 campus. We are so excited to have you as part of Columbus City Schools HBCU event this year. I want to thank Yolanda Stewart and all of those who have been working diligently behind the scenes to pull this off. We are excited to have you, and we look forward to you having an engaging event that allows you to understand how to take full advantage of these college opportunities as it relates to historically Black colleges and universities. So Columbus Afrocentric Early College is a place where our vision is high achievement in early college for each student as we affirm the positive leadership of African Americans to benefit the global community. And our mission is to become an extension center for African and African American cultural learning for the broader Columbus community. Part of this event is critical to our vision and our mission. Our values are love, creativity, abundance, and relationships. So we want you to relate to one another through this virtual event. We want you to expand your capacity for love, which is seeking the best of the other, even at the expense of self. And we want you to be creative in how you connect in this virtual platform. So we hope that you are enjoying the event. And we also want to give a big congratulations to this year's honoree, Donna James. Donna has had a long history in Columbus of a major impact. She is a significant woman in our city. An African-American woman who has made significant contributions across the spectrum. And so congratulations to you, Donna James. We wish you all the best and keep moving forward.
We want to take a moment to thank everyone and the CCS leadership team. You guys are absolutely amazing. And those behind this effort today, can't thank you enough for what you're doing in this space for our historically Black colleges and universities and sharing this information with our young people. So thank you so much.
I have the privilege of representing more than 4,200 of the most dedicated, caring, and diverse individuals. I'm honored to speak to you all today. HBCUs are important to the Columbus Education Association because they have provided a pipeline of leadership not only to our union, but to our school district. For example, but not limited to, CEA currently has 2 longstanding district governors who are HBCU graduates. 2 of our members on our successful core negotiations team went to HBCUs. Our current Capital District business manager is a graduate of historically Black college. Our 2 past presidents attended HBCUs. HBCU graduates have dedicated themselves to the children of Columbus and Central Ohio. They act as members and role models for our students, and they are active in the community. HBCU graduates are important to me because they have provided me with an understanding on many diverse issues. They have always been the first to volunteer when the union has made the ask. HBCU graduates have coordinated many of CEA's social justice activities and they have provided leadership to many of our joint committees with Columbus City Schools. They are in our communities every day, fighting for the schools Columbus students deserve. I would like to say congratulations to Donna James, our Central Ohio alumna of distinction.
Hey, God bless your family. This is Pastor Michael Young, lead pastor of the City of Grace, and I want to welcome you to the 2021 HBCU Homecoming. Students, family, friends, can I tell you something? You're in the right place at the right time. I want to commend you on being part of this incredible event and pursuing excellence as it relates to your education. Also want to take a moment just to thank the Columbus City Schools for their co-hosting of this event. We're just grateful for the positive energy that it's bringing to the community and the positive change that it's inspiring. I also want to give a shout out to all of our faith leaders who help participate in partnering to contribute in a financial way towards the scholarships and just making this event a success. And last, but certainly not least, I want to give a big shout out to the alumni of distinction, Miss Donna James. You go, girl. Hey, y'all, sit back, relax, engage today. It's going to be a phenomenal event.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Courtney Hatton, Vice President of Culture and Community Engagement at United Way of Central Ohio. And as co-chair of the Cbus HBCU Ambassadors Advisory Board, I'm excited to welcome you to this year's homecoming event. The goal of the Cbus HBCU Ambassadors Initiative is threefold: to recruit, retain, and recognize. First, we empower current HBCU students to lead in the recruitment efforts of K-12 students so that they too know and consider HBCUs as viable and promising college options. For our current ambassadors, we provide leadership development, mentorship, and workshops to support their successful matriculation through college and into their next level. And lastly, we strive to recognize the accomplishments of current HBCU students and alumni by celebrating their successes across multiple platforms. All three of our goals will be evident in today's events, highlighted by honoring Donna James as this year's alumna of distinction. Donna is a true pillar in this community who so graciously gives and pours into others and sets the standard for what it means to be a leader. Donna, congratulations on receiving this award, and I thank you for all that you do.
Good afternoon, team. I believe we might be having some technical difficulties, but we're going to keep it right moving. My name is Dr. Yolanda Stewart. I'm one of the organizers of this year's event, and we wanted to thank all of you who have made comments thus far in sharing what it is you had to share regarding your congratulatory remarks. And at this time, without further ado, we have our keynote speaker, Dr. Crystal DeGregory. She is a research fellow at Middle Tennessee State University. And the title of her presentation is Black by Unpopular Demand, How HBCUs Fit You for Your Future. Please let us welcome Dr. DeGregory to Columbus City Schools. And as typical, what we do with HBCUs, we flex and we move, we pivot when we need to. Mr. Newton, can we go ahead and start with our special presentation at this time? Thank you, and I will follow up.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daryl Kirkland, and I'm the Chief Diversity Officer at Cardinal Health. It's an honor to have the opportunity to be able to say a few words about Donna James. Donna and I met about 9 years ago as a member of the African American Leadership Academy Cycle 9 class. And during that program, I had the opportunity to get to connect and get to know Donna and get some of her wisdom shared with me. I was at a point in my career where I was really trying to decide what was next and what I needed to do and how I needed to get there. And Donna simply asked me, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? And what's stopping you? And those three questions really made me think and reflect about things that I needed to do, places that I needed to position myself, and what work I really needed to put in to get to where I wanted to be. I took Donna's advice, I stepped out on faith and really started working towards where I wanted my career to be and what goal I wanted to have in mind that I needed to achieve. And here I sit now as the Chief Diversity Officer of Cardinal Health is my goal. It was my goal. And I'm so happy to say that I wouldn't have be where I am right now without Donna James. One of the words that I would think that really kind of just describes Donna is simply that she is unselfish. She's one of the most unselfish people that I know. And over the years that I've had the opportunity to know Donna, even as she's gone through her own personal hardships and things that have happened in her life and her family and her world, she still finds time to give to others. And that really kind of leads me to think about one of the mantras that I kind of live by is Dr. Martin Luther King said, one of life's most urgent and persistent questions is, what are you doing for others? And I think Donna takes that to heart and really answers that each and every day. It is a pleasure to know Donna James, but it is a privilege to be able to call her my friend. So with that, Donna, congratulations on a well-earned award. And I'm humbled to say that you're my friend. Congratulations.
My name is Nicole Ridley, and my affiliation with Miss Donna is through Nationwide and the African American Leadership Academy. And I remember my first encounter with Miss Donna was around 2004, 2005. I was fresh out of college from the Ohio State University and secured my first job at Nationwide. Being the hunger person that I am, and I was really excited to exceed at Nationwide, I instantly searched out for a mentor and had the fortune to be introduced to Miss Donna. Our first interaction was one I will never forget. Our conversation was real. The advice she gave me allowed me to be my authentic self. I'm not going to share our conversation, but it was extremely funny between a dialogue she had with the then CEO and herself. But she really encouraged me to be my authentic self. And after hearing her story, I continued to follow her and then had the opportunity to learn from her even further in the African American Leadership Academy. Many have described her as a velvet hammer, but that's not the word that I will use for her. My one word is a trailblazer. Looking at what she has overcome as a teenager and where she is today, she has blazed the trails for young teen mothers who thought that the impossible was impossible to show them a way. She has blazed the trails for individuals like myself, Black and brown girls working in a corporate America, working at Nationwide, to understand that that glass ceiling can be shattered. So my word for her is trailblazer. Miss Donna, heartfelt and warmest congratulations to you. Your achievement is a testament of drive and perseverance, and this award is well-deserved. Congratulations, and don't forget to take a moment to enjoy it.
Hi, Donna. How are you? Hey, surprise, it's Shane. Congratulations, Donna, on this award. You have poured your heart and soul into so many African Americans. And because of you, this community and people who look like me are better positioned to succeed. I have to be honest, my most memorable encounter with you occurs every time that we meet. I come away from our meetings with a clear focus and a clear agenda. And I will say that you have helped me create my own personal playbook on leadership, carefully crafted just for me. So thank you, Donna. If I could describe you in one word, it would be altruistic. You always have the best interest of African Americans in mind. And even though some of the things that you say are hard for us to hear, it always lands in the right spot, genuinely balanced with care. So again, congratulations, Donna, and thank you for being so committed to my success and to the success of many others who look like me. Have a great day.
Hello, my name is Florence Lathan, and I first met Donna early in our career. We both worked at Nationwide. I was a recruiter in human resources, and she was an accountant for Nationwide. But it wasn't until after I left Nationwide, about 10 years later, that we reconnected. She had become head of human resources for Nationwide, and I was an HR leader at a bank in Columbus. And we decided to have lunch. She invited me to have lunch, and after all, how could you refuse Donna to go to lunch with Donna? So we went to lunch and we spent that time kind of sharing our HR experiences and how we could learn from each other. And at the end of the lunch, she said, let's do this on a quarterly basis. And we continued to do that. But was I surprised that by the third time that we met, she asked me to consider a job at Nationwide. And in doing that, that truly was a life-changing move for me. The word that describes Donna James is remarkable, just simply remarkable. Donna James fits squarely into that definition. Being remarkable, as defined by Webster, is the ability to attract notice by being striking and extraordinary. We know that to be Donna. Being remarkable means going above the norm, doing, saying, and offering. Or being that individual who puts more heart, soul, and thought into action. As I said, Donna fits squarely into that definition. She puts more heart, soul, and thought into her every action. And there's so many examples of this. I'm just going to share a couple with you. She founded the African American Leadership Academy, preparing young African American leaders for key leadership positions, not only within our community, but beyond. We are in difficult times, and the Leadership Academy is positioned to bring forth new leaders who are prepared to face current and future challenges. Another example, Donna is the co-founder for the Center for Healthy Families. The center provides life-changing work, making a way for teenage mothers to gain education and build healthy, productive families. These impactful changes continue from generation to generation. Donna, personally, you have been such a blessing to me. Your coaching, your guidance, the inspiration that you have provided along the way. You have blessed me in so many ways, and I am committed to striving to passing those blessings on. Donna is a gift that just keeps on giving. It's not a surprise to me that she's being awarded the Hbcu Alumni of Distinction. Through her generosity, compassion, and investment to others, she has provided educational and professional opportunities that open so many doors. Donna, congratulations. In every sense of the word, you are truly remarkable.
I'm Mo Wright, president of Rama Consulting and co-executive director of the African American Leadership Academy. I met Donna about 16 years ago, I think, as a fellow in the African American Leadership Academy, and she was on the faculty and is also a founder. And so she came and talked to our class. And one of the things I really remember about that first encounter is she said that you can have it all, but you can't do it all. And so for me as a young entrepreneur, that was important because I think what she really told us was you can have everything you want, but you've got to be strategic about how you get it done. And so it really helped for me to rethink how I manage my business, how I manage some of my personal relationships, what kinds of things I got involved in, and how it is I wanted to have impact in the broader community. Wow, so many good words to describe Donna. I would say my one word would be steady. Donna is one of the most accomplished leaders, not just locally, but nationally and internationally, has been just a titan of business. And when you meet her, she is so unassuming and just a steady personality. Getting a chance to work with her every day in our work we do with the Leadership Academy, I watch her offer advice that she's learned as a titan in business, but I also watch her lead committees, lead boards, all with a steady hand. And I think what that does is it shows all of us is that there is not just one leadership style, there's just not one leadership model, but having a steady approach to everything that you do can really make you as effective as any of the other leadership styles that we've seen. So for me, it means I can calm it down and tone it down sometimes and be as effective. And I think she's been a great example of showing that steadiness in everything that she does. Donna, I'll just say congratulations on this award as a fellow HBCU graduate from North Carolina, right down the street from your beloved North Carolina A&T. It is so good to honor you once again for all of the work you've done to be an example for HBCU graduates and for our community in so many ways. Congratulations on a well-deserved honor.
I'm Yvette McGee-Brown. I am a partner at the law firm of Jones Day, and I'm formerly a justice on the Ohio Supreme Court and a judge on the Franklin County Common Pleas Court. I first met Donna through Larry James. I have known Larry since I was a brand new lawyer, and quite honestly, when I met Donna, I kept saying, this woman is so beautiful. What is she doing with Larry James? Just kidding. But Donna has just such a beautiful spirit. She truly has a servant's heart. And it's not surprising to me that she is somebody that I have wanted in my life. Maybe she tried to get away, but I kept her in my life. She's just one of those people that once you meet her, you feel like you've always known her. And throughout the important decisions in my life, she's one of the people that I seek out. I talk to Donna because she is so wise, thoughtful, and always sees the best in you, even when you can't see it in yourself. So if I could describe Donna in one word, it would be wisdom. When I think of Donna, I think of somebody who was just born with wisdom. I know experiences growing up, in the South, experiences she had in high school, being a single parent. But there are some people that God just gave that extra bit of wisdom to. And she is that person. No matter how emotional or difficult a situation is, Donna always has the ability to get right to the crux of the matter and give you a solution that makes you go, why didn't I think of that? She is mature, thoughtful, but most of all, she's wise. Donna, congratulations on being recognized as an outstanding HBCU alum. I can't think of anybody who exemplifies the power of historically Black colleges and universities. I look at you and I look at where you started all of the trails that you had to climb, all of the naysayers who probably didn't believe that you were as smart as you are. And I think the grounding that you received in college, that sense of self that can only be given by people who appreciate not only who they are, but why they are. And I am so proud of you, so thankful for you being in my life, and so fortunate that we have your leadership, but most importantly, your heart in the Central Ohio community. You have changed many lives, my friend, and I am grateful for your presence and thankful for your leadership.
Hello, my name is David White. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Battelle and a member of the advisory board for the African American Leadership Academy, and have been in that role for about 5 years. I met Donna James 5 years ago when actually she asked me to participate on the advisory board. Donna scheduled an appointment with me, and it was the first time I had met her. I'd seen her in the community a lot, but I'd never met her personally. And very early on, it became evident that she was a great person, someone that I really wanted to meet and connect with, based upon the work that she's done in the past, as well as the work she's done with the Leadership Academy. The one word I would use to describe Ms. James is grace. I think that she eludes grace. She is very classy, and someone that you deal with, you're going to get a great experience, and it's going to be something that you're going to remember. She leaves a lasting impression with you when you meet her and work with her and speak with her. So grace is the word that I would use to describe Ms. James. I would like to say congratulations, Donna. This is an award that you've achieved through a lifetime of work. We're recognizing you for the work that you've done, and really want to make sure that you understand what you mean to this community and to HBCUs. You came up through the HBCUs, and you've actually sat on the board for Central State at one point, and so you've given back. I appreciate everything you've done for HBCUs and Central State, as well as everything you've done for me and the African American community in Columbus, Ohio.
Hello, my name is Larry James, and I am the proud husband of Mrs. Donna James. Some of her friends call her Nita. I was president of the King Arts Complex. Donna was in a fashion show, and I grabbed her hand and I helped her down the steps, and I went back to the table with some elderly Black women, and I said, I'm going to marry that woman. Well, Donna's contributed to my life in so many wonderful ways. She's made me a better person, obviously a better husband, made me a better brother, made me a better son. My family loves and adores her. My nieces and nephews worship her. I would say that she is as close to perfection that I've ever met. She has a genuine, authentic kindness to her. She is gracious. She is spiritual, extremely hardworking, and just lovable to be with. My dearest beloved wife, tired of these awards, but these are your flowers while you're here on earth. They're more than deserving. And I regret one thing: I can't write you the $10 million check. I would like to say on behalf of our entire family, thank you, Donna, for just being you.
All right. All right. Wow. Donna James. Wow. As close to perfect as perfect can get. The Velvet Hammer, Trailblazer, the gift that keeps on giving. My goodness, Donna James, what an honor, and a woman of achievement. And Dr. Dixon has something that she would like to share with you. Dr. Dixon?
Thank you, Ms. Gillison. There's a quote from Dolly Parton that I think describes Donna James. It simply says, if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. Donna James, on behalf of the Columbus City Schools Board of Education and myself, congratulations on being the Central Ohio HBCU Alumni Distinction Award. So well deserved, so proud to know you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Dixon. And congratulations again, Donna James. HBCU grads. When you think about HBCU grads, Donna James is a grad, and just her life and her legacy. HBCU grads are trained to stand up, use their voice, and speak for those striving for excellence in education and opportunities. And they also speak for those that are under-resourced, underrepresented, and most of all, HBCU grads are called to make a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the difference that Congresswoman Joyce Beatty makes every day. Congresswoman Joyce Beatty is a native Ohioan with a strong history of connecting people, policy, and politics. So she makes a difference. And since 2013, Congresswoman Beatty has proudly represented Ohio's 3rd Congressional District, and she is the newly elected chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. What does that mean? In other words, she leads the most powerful caucus in the House with 60 Black representatives and senators. Congresswoman Beatty is a sought-after public speaker, a recipient of numerous awards, and she was previously named from Ebony Magazine one of 150 most powerful African Americans in the United States. Congresswoman Beatty is active in the Links Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, National Coalition of 100 Black Women, the Columbus Urban League, and the American Heart Association. Congresswoman Beatty is the diva from Dayton, the heart of our nation, the link to leadership, and the delta of destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, straight out of Central State University is our very own mighty marauder, the Honorable Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. And I hope she approves this message.
No hand, it doesn't let you do anything with it.
Ms. Gillison, if you could please hold, we are working on getting Congresswoman Beatty access.
But we are going to get our Congresswoman Beatty on the line. She is very, very excited to speak with everyone. And let's just talk about HBCUs and what an amazing opportunity that this has been today. We've heard a panel discussion that was very informative. And when I was in high school, I wish that I would have heard and felt the passion from those on the panel. There's a lot of conversation out there. PWIs are better than HBCUs. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to show you the products of HBCUs, to show you what you can do from an HBCU. We are all proud grads. And Don Tyler Lee said something. She said, we talk a lot of smack, because we all feel like our HBCU was the best HBCU. You know, our superintendent from Mississippi Valley State on our senior cabinet, and we also have Dr. Chapman from Tennessee State University. And then I'm right here representing the Jaguars of Southern University. But at the end of the day, we are all products, proud products of HBCUs. Do we have Congresswoman Beatty ready? All right, so what I'll ask everybody to do is, would you go to the chat and just shout out congratulations for Donna James, and let's shout out our Congresswoman Joyce Beatty.
Good evening, Ms. Gillison.
Good evening. All right, we have last year's recipient with us today. Oh my goodness, that is Shauna Gibbs. How you doing, Shauna? Former board member. How are you today?
I am doing well. I am glad to be here as the 2019 recipient of the Alumni Award. I am here to clap hands, scream loud, and to congratulate the incredible and the incomparable Miss Donna James, and stand in awe of our honorable congressional leader, Joyce Beatty. But I am glad you are here, and I'm glad to see my superintendent, Dr. Talisa Dixon, and all of our students on here. So of course, I just want to get on and again, thank all of you students and all of the parents that are here, that are getting more information, that are learning about our incredible historically Black colleges and universities. I'm rocking my red, but I again want to share. I saw your pink earlier. I want to share and give a very special shout out to all of my girlfriends that are in Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, celebrating 100 years of service today on their Founders Day. Right. And if you don't know that many of our fraternities and sorority were founded on the campus of Howard University. Yolanda, don't jump in, because I know you're over there cheering, but Howard is the birthplace of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Iota Phi Theta also finds home in the HBCU life, and we are excited that it's the birthplace of so many things and so many people. So it doesn't matter where you start, and you don't have to start on their campus. If you go to a school and find out it's not for you, you are not a tree. You can move, transfer. You don't have to start freshman year. You can come sophomore, junior, even your senior year, if you find that this is going to be the best place for you to learn, nurture, and grow. And so I am excited about all that has been presented. I thank all of the sponsors. I am sitting in an advisor seat in terms of being a community member and a parent. But just remember what you've heard today and tell 3 more people. We change perceptions one conversation at a time, one myth at a time, one piece of shade at a time. So when someone says, well, I heard that school is this, or I heard it may not be that, say, well, let me tell you what I learned at the HBCU Summit. Let me take you to a website and let me introduce you. Why don't you Google some of these amazing alums of our HBCUs and see what they can do? But I also want to encourage you to do one more thing. Once you graduate from an HBCU, don't stop. Don't just stop with a bachelor's. Get a master's, get a PhD, get a JD, get an MD, keep on going. I represent class 1, cycle 1 of the African American Leadership Academy. So continue to learn, continue to grow. And I hope that's what you heard from so many people, that this is a lifetime journey. You will build lifetime friends and connections, and we hope you will spend a lifetime giving back to our institutions, those experiences and those people and the culture that will begin to invest and give so much to you. I'm popping off, but I definitely wanted to say that to you. Dr. Dixon, keep your head up.
Wait, before you pop off, are you an HBCU alum? And if so, where are you from?
CAU. the Mighty Panthers, the Clark Atlanta University, founded, well, we consolidated in 1988 from two historic organizations, Clark College and Atlanta University, in the Atlanta University Center. You've met many of my colleagues. Maya Mack is on here, who is an our ambassador from Clark Atlanta University. We're the home of the Black National Anthem. James Weldon Johnson attended Clark College, and many other alums. We are neighbors to Spelman Clark Morehouse, the International Theological Center, and Morehouse School of Medicine, and we can't wait for Morris Brown to come back. We're better together. We are the largest in the Atlanta University system, offering tons of major for you to come learn, study, and grow. Our motto is culture for service, or I'll find a way and make one. I'll find a way or I'll make one. And our president was just here as the speaker for the United Negro College Fund Luncheon. So if you're looking for a school, Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, or any of the other 100 HBCUs, there's one that will cater to you and your life. And when you get there, you will know you were home. I'm a graduate of the Columbus Alternative High School here in Columbus, and I am a first-generation college student, the first of my family to finish. And I'm very happy, very glad that I had a chance to go there. And my story is I hadn't seen the school until I got on campus. That was my first time being there. But I knew from my study and research, that's where I wanted to be. Thank you all. Continue to grow. Thank you, parents. Thank you, students. Thank you, supporters and colleagues.
And thank you, Shauna Gibbs. And so I just want to highlight a couple of the amazing graduates from HBCUs that you've seen here today in the flesh, right? But then if you take a stroll back, you can go as far back as Booker T. Think about Spike Lee, graduated from Morehouse, right? And we all love Taraji P. Hinton. She is started at North Carolina A&T and then transferred to Tennessee State University. Oprah Winfrey, Tennessee State University. People, young folks, these aren't unicorns. These are real people. And the HBCUs help to make the difference, right? Our Vice President-elect, Kamala Harris, Howard University, right? And we got Will Packer, Florida A&M, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, Central State University, Mo Wright, Winston-Salem.
And let's give a shout out right here. Let's give a shout out right here, because we talk about all of our HBCUs and we love him. And for some of y'all who don't believe Ohio is great, Central State and Wilberforce are right here in the state of Ohio. Amazing. And she may or may not have time to talk about it, but Congresswoman Joyce Beatty's advocacy for the land grant status for Central State University has opened doors to more funding and more opportunities for those students. They are less than an hour and a half away. You can get your HBCU student experience right here with in-state tuition. How about that, parents? And don't pay no out-of-state fees. So both of those schools have long produced tons of amazing people, great service right here in the state of Ohio. You could come home on the weekends, every 5 weekends, but you can still have an amazing time. So yes, Ms. Gillison, I'm glad you mentioned that and the great service they provide. And right up the road, Kentucky State University. I have to give a shout out to the thoroughbreds right up right down 71. My family is from Lexington, and I spent a lot of time with the Kentucky State University family and all of those Alpha Pi sorors. They are amazing as well. So there are schools that are near and there are schools that are far, but there is one for you if that is in your
Thank you for absolutely. Now, how about we hear from Donna James, the award winner tonight, and Donna will accept her award. Are you with us, Donna? Can you grace us with your presence?
Yes, I am here, enjoying every minute of it. Thank you so much. This has just been an extraordinary moment. all of the people on the video, Ms. Gillison, Dr. Dixon. I am just overwhelmed. One, with personal joy for the accolade and the opportunity to be acknowledged in this way, but even more so for the uplifting of historically Black colleges and universities and how they impact our ability to be effective individually and collectively. I remember when I first interviewed here in Columbus, coming from North Carolina, and in my final year, my senior year, and I'm interviewing for a job with an accounting firm. And there's something about the HBCU experience that gives you a level of confidence and comfort because you've been around and you've been home, that whole notion of iron sharpening iron that I felt, even though I was coming to a strange city where I didn't know anyone. And I'm in the interview with this managing partner, and he asked me, as he's trying to get to know me, he says, so have you, do you have many minorities at your school where you attend? And I said, well, yes, as a matter of fact, we have a few, not very many. There are not very many white people who choose to come to this institution. And I'm just going on with my description of the minorities at the school, and I notice he has this perplexed look on his face. And then he finally smiles, and I explain to him, I go to an historically Black college, so minorities for me are people who don't look like me. And that conversation was as enlightening for me as it was for him, because it reminded me what I was stepping into. But I was more than prepared. And so I won't take a lot of time because I think you've done a phenomenal job of presenting the historically Black college and university story in a way that is compelling and uplifting. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the flowers, the accolades, and thank you for the reminder of who I am to so many of you that I love and whose lives I try to touch in a meaningful way. I am more than grateful. I am truly honored in the most humble way. Thank you all.
There is the gift that keeps on giving. You are so deserving of this award. And I've never had an opportunity to meet you personally, but I feel like, look at that. That is beautiful. Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you. You see that, Shauna? All right, everybody, hands up, hands up, hands up. Thank you. Well, it seems we are experiencing a little technical difficulty trying to get the diva from Dayton,
I got it.
the Delta of Destiny, our very own Congresswoman Joyce Beatty on the line. Uh-oh, here we go. All right, we have Joyce Beatty on the line.
First of all, let me
Congresswoman Beatty, Honorable Congresswoman.
First of all, let me just say thank you for all of your patience, your indulgence. We have been trying to get on for the last 30 minutes, but I'd do anything for Donna James. So let me just say, and for you all, are you ready for me since you've had to fill in? Let me just say good evening, and I am Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, and it is indeed an honor for me to present the Central Ohio 2020 HBCU Alumni of Distinction Award to my friend, Donna James. Donna, are you there? Thank you, my sister. Donna, I hope you have the award. If you do, can you hold up that award? Okay, I want everybody to see this. And I'm actually going to tell you what the award says. The award she's holding up reads, Donna James for outstanding leadership and service throughout Central Ohio and beyond. Presented by the Cbus HBCU Ambassador Initiative, Columbus City Schools, and the City of Columbus, My Brother's Keepers Initiative. We also have, Donna, a proclamation from my office that we will be sending to you. I'm not going to read all of it because people have been waiting so long for me to come on. And I'd just rather say some words from the heart so people actually know how much we love you because of your service, because of your commitment, because of your dedication, and your just unyielding giving of service to this community, to our students, to our children. But it is on behalf of the 3rd Congressional District of Ohio, and it does recognize you for receiving this 2020 Central Ohio HBCU Alumni of Distinction Award. And I am so honored that I can join others in presenting this proclamation to you. It goes on and it highlights all of those amazing things that Donna has done. And I want everybody to take the time to read her bio, but I want to take a point of personal privilege. As a person that goes every day to Washington to fight for justice, it's because of individuals like Donna James. It's because when you have someone who reaches back and takes someone along with you, it gives you courage. Someone once said to me, success of every woman should be the inspiration to one another. Well, Donna, you are the inspiration to those of us who lead. You are the inspiration to those of us that follow. You are the inspiration to those of us who embrace you and wrap our arms around you to follow. Now, we know she's a bad sister. We know that she is an entrepreneur. We know that she has her own company, a combination of two names very important to her that have been united and merged and yes, even married to make sure that they go out into the world and train others. We know she cares about children. We know that she has been a lifetime of fighting for young children, especially Black children, making sure that they can grow up to be a Donna James. We know that she serves on far too many boards for me to try to list and read, but I can tell you, Donna always comes back home. She gives, she gives, she gives, and she shares. Now, we know that President Obama had her on speed dial and called her by her first name because I know I was in Washington and I remember one day saying, Donna, you're on this flight to Washington. Where are you going? And when she told me that she had been appointed by the president of these United States, Barack Obama, to serve as the chairperson of the National Women's Business Council. Wow, that's all I could say. But to all of you tonight, with all of that that you will read about, with all of that that you will know about Donna James, let me just tell you, she is a solid sister. She is someone that can be in any room and talk to anyone at any level because she understands from her life growing up. While she went on to do great things, she always tells her story. She always talks about her life and the obstacles that she had to climb over. And she did it so easily. And I think that's because she had challenges along the way. People didn't know that she would become the Donna we know, but Donna knew that she would become the Donna we know. I can't end this without saying she also has spent a lifetime with a bad brother by the name of Larry James. And together I call them the duo, the dynamic duo. But tonight, Larry, this isn't about you. It's about Donna James. So let me end with this before I salute some other students. I can remember reading about Donna one time when I had to introduce her. And I read this statement that Donna said, and I have it right here because I keep it on a card on my desk. It's that powerful to me. Donna said, potholes are people in your life or your career who you think that they are getting in your way. Think about potholes, and they do get in your way. Now, because Donna said that, I decided to use that and say back to Donna, so we go around potholes, so we straddle potholes, so we leap over potholes. You know why? Because we know that we can get to the other side if we work hard, if we don't let the potholes scare us or get in the way. So Donna, I want you to know all on this call tonight will now jump over those potholes. They'll go around those potholes because we're not going to let them get in the way. And I couldn't end without saying, as we yesterday celebrated the actual birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., and as the next few days we will continue to celebrate him, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "It is always the right time to do what is right." Donna, thank goodness God gave us you, because you always make it the right time to do what is right. And that is to serve this community. And congratulations on receiving this award. Now, I also have the opportunity to say to a group of students, congratulations and way to go for being selected tonight, all 20 of you being selected tonight for this award. We too have proclamations for each of the students tonight. And I want to share with you, I won't read all of it, but it's very important to all of those students for you to know that being in this program is something that will help change your life. Because being a Cbus HBCU ambassador puts you in a leadership development program and an experience that you will never forget. It has allowed for you to be an ambassador where you are mentored, where you are peered up with other peers, so you will really enjoy the leadership experience. So the 3rd Congressional District salutes you as an ambassador. And let me just say to you, I am so proud of the work you've done. And you have had to do it in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. And as you continue to thrive in your academic pursuit and service to your communities, I say, job well done and thank you. So today on January the 16th, this proclamation, I am going to honor each student for being named a 2021 Cbus HBCU ambassador, and I wish all of you continued success. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for allowing me to come at a time that this nation has been in so much turmoil. But I want you to know we will continue to fight for justice. We will continue to move forward and build back better. Thank you so much, and good night.
Ms. Gillison, we're turning it over to you now. Thank you so much for joining us today, Congresswoman Beatty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congresswoman Beatty. The diva from Dayton is what we called you, the Delta of Destiny, our leader, our champion, our mighty marauder. Thank you so much. The life you live, you are an example. You and Donna James, the same platform for our young people to see this. I have mentioned before, you all aren't unicorns, you're real. And you're here and you're fighting for the advocacy and ensuring that we take care of each other. So thank you so much, Congresswoman Beatty. All right. So now when we, first of all, we just have to take a moment to realize what we've just experienced here. It was a lot and it was all meaningful. And young people, I hope that you received everything. And as a matter of fact, I hope this exceeded your expectations. I have a couple of that will benefit you. It's about scholarships announced. So when you're thinking about how
Ms. Gillison, your mic.
Okay.
Yes, that was the phrase of 2020. You're muted, your mic. Thank you very much. But I want to share, I want to reiterate something that Don Tyler Lee had announced, and it was a scholarship. And you can access the application by going to mbkvillage.org. And it's a scholarship app for young men of color, and it's available on February the 1st. So you want to make sure that you check that out. And also when we talk about HBCUs and Central State University, which is just right up the road or down the road, on your perspective, they're giving presidential scholarships. Those are scholarships that will pay everything for our students. So if you want to know more about those scholarships, you want to call or email me at email me. I'll put the information in the chat, but just reach out to A. Gillison in the email system for Columbus City Schools, because believe it or not, I just forgot my email address. So, but there are 2 presidential scholarships. Those alumni on the phone from Central State know how meaningful this scholarship is for everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an amazing evening. And is it time for our roll call yet?
Not yet. We're going to pivot back to our guest speaker, our keynote speaker, Ms. Gregory. Dr. Gregory has a quick message for us, Ms. Gillison.
All right, wonderful. And I know technology kind of got in the way, but we had a treat for you. And I'm really excited that Dr. Crystal DeGregory is still going to be able to share some of her wisdom as a historian. Dr. Crystal Gregory.
Hi, everyone. I am so incredibly privileged to be able to talk with you this evening about the extraordinary historically Black institutions of higher education, which share a common founding mission. That mission was and is very uniquely a preoccupation with educating Black folk. Creatively, collectively, and proudly, they bear the federal designation of being historically Black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs. Now, I know that it's not every day that someone the age of these teens gives up their precious Saturday, even if it is to learn about the greatness that is HBCU. So let me take this moment to say thank you. Now, there is nobody, and I mean nobody, who can tell you about the matchless majesty of Wednesdays at high noon on an HBCU yard like someone who attended an HBCU. Nobody is better acquainted with the synchronous musicality or magical movement of Black Greek-lettered fraternal calls, hops, strolls, and line dances. Nobody has turned up more at gym parties, which we then call dollar hollers. No one has listened more intently to big bands marching in syncopation or been moved to tears by small or not so small, soulful singing of chorales. And there is nobody, and I mean nobody, more qualified to speak on the tastiness of fried chicken days, like someone who attended an HBCU. Many years ago, I think it was, some genius of HBCU rhyme described it all this way: we party hard, we stay up late, but most of all, we graduate. Now, we know that these are incredibly difficult times, and honestly, we as adults haven't paused nearly enough to check not just on you, but in with you. We have to listen more to your hopes and to your dreams, to your fears and to your frustrations, and how to make this beautiful, terribly flawed world easier for you to bear. You are Black by unpopular demand, in a world where Blackness can be a capital offense, punishable by death. And whether we tell you or not, we too are sometimes scared to death that racism and white supremacy will continue to kill without conscience or justice Black women, men, and yes, Black children too. Because whether murdered by the pandemic of COVID-19 or by the pandemic of police and other white mob killings of unarmed Black folk, or even by the pandemic of poverty, adults know that we don't have to tell you that this world is far, way too far from perfect. And despite it all, we are here, beautiful and brilliant Black people, just like the nation's HBCUs. We are still standing. We are still strong. And that's why we are here for you today. To borrow from Clark Atlanta University alumnus and poet James Weldon Johnson, we are here to lift every voice and sing. Sing as our ancestors sang. Despite enslavement, despite the rise of Jim and Jane Crow and the seeming state sovereignty of the Ku Klux Klan, our ancestors sang when picking 200 pounds of cotton a day, back bent and bloody browed, through the hiring of themselves out and through the taking in of borders and the laundering of clothes, through industry and through innovation, through invention and entrepreneurship, by the passing of the proverbial hat and the selling of sweet pies and multi-layered church cakes. Though buked and scorned, they sought to learn how to read and how to write. By the sunlight, by the starlight and by the moonlight, and by the light of candles and oil lamps, they followed the drinking gourd of freedom to education, as powerful and as enduring a freedom as there ever was. They and you are evidence that Black lives matter. Not only are HBCUs by us or for us, HBCUs are us. They are guiding us as we are the manifestation of our grandmother's prayers and the wildest of our grandfather's dreams, guiding us to attend the North Star that we call an HBCU. All of your hopes and your many dreams are shared by generations of HBCU faculty, staff, and most of all, by legions of HBCU alumni. That is why we are celebrating today homecoming. We are calling you to come home to HBCUs, not because they are perfect, but because they are as purposed as they are proven. Whether you wish to be a great schoolmaster, like Tuskegee founder Booker T. Washington or Bethune-Cookman founder Mary McLeod Bethune, If you're called to conscience by Morehouse's the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Alabama State's Rosa Parks, Shaw University's Ella Baker, or by Fiss's John Lewis and Diane Nash, even if you aspire to be a tower of business like Tennessee State's Oprah Winfrey or Starbucks COO Spelman Ross Brewer, fit yourself for your future at an HBCU. Maybe you wish to fly others to the moon, like the real women behind the story of Hidden Figures, HBCU alumni. Or maybe you'd like to Wakanda forever, like Howard's Chadwick Boseman. Maybe you want to play sports, but you aren't familiar with Black college's golden era of sports dominance. I am telling you, fit yourself for your future at an HBCU. Maybe still you wish to be a mayor, like FAMU's Keisha Lance Bottoms, or represent your state like our very own Congresswoman, or uphold fair voting like Spelman Stacey Abrams, or make her story like Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. At HBCUs, we stand in line for sneakers and for senators. We are a continuation of a still unfolding story, a story that stretches from the slave house to the White House. We wear three-piece suits as well and as confidently as we wear jeans jackets. We know who and whose we are. Come home and be fitted for your future at an HBCU, where, in the words of the theologian and great mystic, the Reverend Howard Thurman, we will give you a crown and into it help you to grow. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. DeGregory. We really appreciate it. Let's show her some love in the chat. If you really enjoyed listening to Dr. DeGregory, go ahead and throw some 10s in the chat for that wonderfully incredible oration of why HBCUs and why now. But I'm gonna back up just a little bit. I just saw a chat from Donna James, and we are a little off script here today, but that's okay. We are going to flow and flex just like we always do in the HBCU community. My name is Yolanda Stewart, for those of you who I have not had the opportunity to meet yet, and I am one of the organizers of this year's event. But what I want to say first and foremost is that, Donna, I know that I speak on behalf of all of Central Ohio, that we are so thankful that you were able to accept this award today. You've made your mark and you've left an incredible template for us to move forward. And we're going to do just that, not just for ourselves, but for the communities that we all serve. Donna, so thank you. Thank you very much for being here with us today. I currently serve as an assistant principal at West High School right here in our district. I graduated from Mifflin High School. And it was there that my high school guidance counselor at the time introduced me to an HBCU located in Washington, D.C. that changed my life. Now, I don't know if I'm still on screen here, so let me check because it looks like I'm frozen.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. You can hear me. Is my video still frozen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Kevin, can you see and hear me clearly? Just doing a mic check, trying to finish up. Anybody in our back wing? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I see some of our ambassadors responding. So my high school counselors who introduced me to Howard University, that experience changed my life forever. I am a proud alum of the Mecca Howard University, and I'm not going to talk to you about Howard University today. I just want to spend these next couple of minutes that I have before we award out our prizes to our students who are going to walk away with some, we have a generous donation from the Columbus Education Association of some MacBook Airs, and we have quite a few of them. So please stick around to see if your name was selected based off of your points. So I'm not going to talk about Howard. I'm going to talk about some of the individuals who made this event happen. And without this, without their contributions, this event would not have been able to be possible. First and foremost, I would like to thank our superintendent for her vision to ensure that CCS maintains its model of excellence in public education. CCS is a lot of things to a lot of people, but our specialty, our superpower is breaking down barriers for our students so that they have what they need to be successful. And our annual homecoming event is just another example of that. So I'd like to also thank our mistress of ceremonies, Ms. Gillison, who always, she just flows and flexes with us every year, bringing her energy and passion to the project to push us over the line, especially when we need a little fuel near the end. Next, our Cbus HBCU Ambassador Board, Advisory Board. You will see all the members listed in our virtual program book, all the team of individuals. They continue to provide insight and structure to everything that you see here today, but in particular, the leadership team of our advisory board, I have to shout out, and I want to be very intentional in calling them by name. In every piece of public work that I've ever done, they always advise you not to start calling names because you're going to mess it up and you're going to forget somebody, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because of the contribution that they made this year. I'd like to shout out Alonzo Edmundo of Get Creative, Demetrius Carter, Courtney Hatton, and Ed Baker. This pandemic tried to steal everything, but these four individuals made sure that it didn't happen by spending countless hours, lots of late nights, early mornings. Thank you all for your investment in this initiative and really breathing life back into the concept. Taking this event online meant stepping out and trying something new and being courageous. And a lot of us on the team previously, we didn't have that skill set. So we were able to tap into our incredibly talented technology and our communication team members. They were the real MVPs that saved this event. And I've always considered myself to be pretty tech savvy, but I was humbled quickly by the pure brilliance and skill set of Kevin Newton, who put all of our skills to shame, but kept us laughing. And if you've ever had the opportunity to work with him, you know you're in for a special treat. So they're all part of our planning family now, along with Ezra Johnson, Henry Warren, and Rachel Rosman. I also want to give our partners at CEA a huge shout out. They always step up strong to support our HBCU homecoming event. Again, this year donating several MacBook Airs to students. So thank you, John Caniglio, and our partners at CEA. And even though I really do not want to do this, we both agreed to be nice to each other this year because Dawn Tyler Lee is a Hampton grad and I graduated from Howard, and anybody in the HBCU community knows that that's typically, not a go, but everybody just show some love to Dawn. She was just so incredible and just dynamic, leading our panel discussion and moderating us through that conversation. And give her a shout out, give her some all 10s in the chat if you thought she did a phenomenal job not moderating. I believe she did an incredible job. And Dawn, thank you so much. And all of our panelists, thank you for touching on issues that touch right to the heart and of where we are in our community and just dropping those jewels and those pearls of wisdom. I want to thank our sponsors this year, Katina Fullen at I Know I Can, brilliant mind, a huge heart for our students and families. The team at My Brother's Keeper, our lead sponsor for this year. Thank you very much. My Brother's Keeper Village, you all came through clutch. We absolutely appreciate, and we're looking forward to more with this partnership. Our faith-based partners who stepped in huge in a strong way to support our students financially, and our D9 organizations. It's almost impossible to talk about HBCUs if you don't recognize the significance and impact of our Divine Nine organizations. They go way beyond strolling and yelling out their cause. These organizations are about service, and they demonstrated that clearly here in our event today. So thank you to all of our D9 partners. I really appreciate you, Dr. Gregory, for hanging in with us through our technology issues. I thought your keynote was poetic and very refreshing. I know a lot of people have already texted me that sister is bad. She's articulate and intelligent, and that is what we expected in your presentation, and you delivered that and then some. So thank you very much for being here with us. Now, the moment that our students have been waiting for, I'm going to pull up to the stage some of our committee members, actually our advisory board and maybe committee members. Demetrius, if you could come on the camera. Who else do we have out there? Do we have Henry Warren? Is Henry out there? I don't know if he's out there. Courtney, is Courtney there? Okay. Well, what we're going to do, just due to the sake of time, and after this, we have a special tribute that I wanted to shout out all of our Columbus City HBCU alum for recognize. I see you, Henry. You could come on in. You could come on camera. I don't know where Courtney is or Rachel, but that's okay. We're just flying by the seat of our pants. We are going to award these students these laptops. We have a lot of other gifts, but we're just going to look at those numbers behind the scenes and reach out to people so that we do not hold everybody up. And then we have a special tribute for all of our CCS HBCU alum. We have a special tribute that we want to share with you. So Demetrius, can you tell us who is our first student? And if you are here, we need to see you in the chat. Are y'all ready?
Our first student is Grace O'Grady, representing Pickerington High School.
Is Grace out there? Grace, let's see you in the chat. Pickerington, there she is. Let's give it up for Grace, who just won a free MacBook Air. It's yours. We have your address. Nice job. She must have been hustling around to those HBCUs.
Grace had 590 points.
Yes, let's go, Grace. That's what I'm talking about. 590 points. Wow, I can't wait to see what all the things. Who we got next?
We have Jaden Thompson from Pickerington High School. Pickerington's representing with 335.
Is Jaden there? If Jaden's not here, he could be from Pickerington representing, but he's not getting no MacBook if he's not in the house. Jaden, where's Jaden? We don't see your name. Jaden about to miss out. We're going to give him a countdown, or we're going to be generous. How we going to do it?
10, yep. 9, yep.
Come on, Jaden. Somebody get Jaden on there. Anybody know Jaden? Can somebody text or phone a friend? Don't nobody know Jaden. Must be present to win. Those were the rules. Okay, well, who we got next? Let's go, Demetrius.
We have Cameron Jordan Ruffin, Walnut Ridge High School.
Oh, Ridge. Is Cameron here? Did Cameron clock out as well? We want to give these. Y'all don't want the MacBook Airs?